before the written word, before pyramids, cities, or even wheels. There were children. Not ours, not quite, but children nonetheless. Children of the Neanderthals. We've told stories of Neanderthal hunters, their raw power, their extinction. But we rarely ask the most human question of all. What happened to their children? Who held them when they cried? What songs did they hear before sleep? And in the end, did they vanish too or leave something behind inside us? Around 40,000 years ago, Europe was colder, wilder, ruled not by empires, but by survival. In this world, a Neanderthal child was born into struggle. Wrapped in furs, cradled in stone-lined shelters, they opened their eyes not to toys or lullabies, but to storms, saber-tooths, and silence. And yet, they laughed. They played. They learned, just like our children do. Recent archaeological finds suggest Neanderthal children were deeply loved and protected. In Shanidar Cave, Iraq, a young Neanderthal was buried with flowers, a prehistoric bouquet for a lost child. Why? Because grief is older than language. On the walls of El Castillo and Gargas in Europe, tiny handprints appear alongside mammoths and horses. Some are only inches wide. Children's hands. Children who picked up pigment and pressed their mark onto stone, saying, "I was here." A 7-year-old Neanderthal, somewhere deep in the Ice Age, left behind a shadow we still see 40 millennia later. Is that not extraordinary? They weren't just passive bystanders. They participated in their culture in rituals, storytelling, perhaps even early forms of art. Their minds were not primitive. They were curious, imaginative, and tragically vulnerable. But childhood, then, wasn't safe. Life expectancy was brutal. A Neanderthal child had a 50% chance of dying before the age of 6. Injury, predators, disease, exposure all waited beyond the cave mouth. Some children died in hunts, others in winter storms. Some were buried lovingly. Others simply disappeared. But even in death, they teach us. Through teeth and bones, scientists can now analyze their diets. These kids ate meat, roots, nuts, even cooked food. They may have been weaned later than modern humans. Their growth was slower. They matured strong, but not fast. Yet for those who survived, life had joy. Children played with carved bones and simple toys. They mimicked adults in flint knapping and fire tending. They watched their mothers mix ochre, their fathers carve spears. Neanderthals likely lived in tight-knit, emotionally bonded groups. Older siblings helped raise the young. Grandparents passed down knowledge through gesture and gaze. These families weren't brutish brutes. They were human, in their own way. Then, suddenly, they vanished. Not in a single day, not by a single war, but gradually like twilight fading into night. And the question haunts us. What happened to their children in the end? Were they absorbed? Some scientists believe that Neanderthal children were interbred with early Homo sapiens, that their bloodline didn't end, it transformed. In fact, up to 2% of modern non-African DNA is Neanderthal. Perhaps their children became our great-great-great-grandparents. Others suggest starvation, competition, or disease hit the youngest hardest. As climate changed and Homo sapiens spread, resources grew scarce. And in that struggle, it may have been the children who suffered first. But maybe they didn't vanish completely. Maybe every time a toddler clutches a stone, or stares at fire in wonder, or draws a handprint in mud, a fragment of Neanderthal childhood still flickers alive. They were not monsters, not mistakes, not failed experiments. They were children, and they mattered. They may have lived in darkness, but their light reached us. At Prehistoric Shadows, we believe that stories like these shouldn't stay buried in caves and dust. If this journey stirred your curiosity, your empathy, then subscribe, turn on notifications, and help us uncover more forgotten truths. Because behind every fossil is a story that still echoes, even from 40,000 years away.